Welcome back to the new professional StarCraft 2, where I have the pleasure of introducing in the bottom right in the red, the current reigning world champion, the underdog Terran, a normal man. It's Oliveira, formerly known as Time. We'll see if it's time for him to adapt to the new balance patch. Something which we've already seen some success from this player in the top left. In the blue, the Admiral. It's GuMiho, using his smarter, not harder strategies in order to get this far. A best of 3T VT. A matchup I think I'm a little more interested to showcase, especially with the significant adjustments to the early game. But there's one adjustment that I won't make. The adjustment of asking you to like and subscribe. Jimmy, what are we? 1,147 likes. And I'll cast another series. And I'll probably do it anyways. But thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get a little bit better than GuMiho, who's chasing... Oh, this is annoying. Even Terrans get annoyed by Reapers. Beautiful! Oliveira manages to pick off 2 SCVs, something that really shouldn't happen in TVT when your opponent already has a Reaper, but he gets in. We're on Oceanborn, by the way. Watch out for the sea monsters. And a water map, which means, well, when things, they don't sink into the ground, they float up to the surface, which I'm also very excited to have any of these in the map pool. Finally, something making the word pool make a little more sense. So we'll see if we get there with it. But I do think the TVT meta, for those who don't know, Reapers and Hellions, and well, clearly here, the early game Reapers and Hellions are not extinct. But with the Cyclone, and with the new patch and the Cyclone changes, which you probably heard a little bit about, and it coming out so early, you don't need a tech lab. You can build it right... it only takes a bit longer than a Hellion, and it's only 50 gas. So even though the Cyclone itself is a little weaker, it still is completely capable of shutting down that Reaper Hellion aggression. So for better or worse, I think you can expect a lot less early Reaper Hellion aggression, and instead a more stable, which is a nice way to say somewhat turtly, early game on most maps. Though we're already, I will tell you, with my latter experiences, I've been seeing a bit more, a bit more aggression in other ways. Well, like siege tank drops and stuff like that. But I'm interested to see what some competent players have in store for us. Is that Interference Matrix? Yes. It is the same ability, but now requires a short research on the tech lab. Kind of like concussive shells for the Marauder. Brings that back online. And Interference Matrix in this matchup can be incredibly helpful. Even if there aren't too many targets. Well, especially when there are too many targets. What am I saying? Interference Matrix is one of the most important abilities in the early game TVT. Not having one siege tank or even one Viking. Well, Oliveira with a map hack level scan. The split second as GuMiho loads up a curiously timed double drop here. He's going to send out nearly 2 full medevacs. He was slowed down a bit, I think, by the initial Reaper. But, yeah, Oliveira should know about it. He's not moving you... maybe he thinks it was a bluff. No, it's not a bluff, though. Like, he's moving into the main. I think he's starting to realize. And GuMiho not going to risk running directly into those Ravens and potentially being shot down or, well, just generally not finding success. The main strength of these 2 medevacs is just the ability to get where the Ravens and siege tanks are not. The problem is Oliveira spotted it early, so there's a single tank there, snipes off the Reaper. And Oliveira going for the more defensive style. He's got Ravens and Vikings, whereas GuMiho, has he built any Vikings? No, he's just going mass Marine tanks, so there will be a split in styles somewhat. Even though Oliveira is also working his way up to the Marines, he's going to have a stronger unit composition, but with less meat to it. Whereas GuMiho, well, He's got a lot for the grinder. As only 2 siege tanks, 4 medevacs, mass marine. And he's even... Alright, he's just gonna go for a massive drop here. A Doom drop to start things off. A Reaper Oliveira. Okay, well, he just boosts. He goes for it. This is a terrible idea. GuMiho really wants to make this happen, but it's not happening. Oliveira boxing it out. He's got the Ravens there. The Vikings, a real threat. If you interference matrix the medevacs before they drop, the units are stuck inside, where they likely will be gunned down. It also disables the afterburners, though it doesn't stop you from moving entirely. So it makes it that much harder to get away. Sharks around. Single turret up to the north side being built. Scans for the army. There's only 1 siege tank here, which might not be enough. The initial damage going to be done. Already lifts the orbital command at the natural, and GuMiho actually finds success with those 4 medevacs there. Scrambles the tanks, but they're already unsieging. Anti-armor missile Vikings knocking down the medevacs. Gets 2 tanks out, though, of all the things to get out. Very important, he was already unsieging those tanks before the interference matrices landed, as otherwise they would have been locked in place, unable to unsiege, which is quite painful. GuMiho ends up doing a decent amount of damage, though. Killing 10 SCVs. He got both Ravens. And continues. You really need that sort of momentum against the style that Oliveira's playing as well. Oliveira he's essentially building up his perfect army. He's going to have the Vikings for air control. He's going to have plenty of siege tanks, except GuMiho slipped in and kind of knocked down his house of cards there before it could really come together. And that's exactly what he kind of needs to keep doing, because Oliveira still has air control at the moment. A scan. As GuMiho hasn't built and by not built a single Viking, which I'm kind of cutting myself off, but he built 2 Vikings. He has 2 Vikings now. But the Vikings have been sitting out just trying to deal with potential drops, or at least scout them. Well, here we are. Siege tanks on either side. Oliveira has a Liberator as well. Gonna siege up. Oh, stims in a Marine, eats the first volley of tank hits. Will lose a lot of the Marines, but takes down the Liberator, which for GuMiho seems to have been worth it. And Oliveira sends out a double drop at exactly the same time here. Sensor tower in the center of the map. I like that forward sensor tower. GuMiho. Oh, the scans begin. Yeah. GuMiho spots the army. I think he realized. Where did the medevacs go? Oh my god, he realizes for sure. He stimmed out some of his Marines. He may have spotted the medevacs, or at the very least. Clear. Oh. Oh no. Billy. This is not going well, Oliveira. Well, the drops will chase the others. Afterburners exactly the same speed as Afterburners. Will manage to get the drop into the 3rd base here. Killing some of the SCVs off. GuMiho collapsing in from both sides. And Marines just floating up on either side. Oh, guns down a medevac. Looking for 2. And finds the second one. A bloody battle. And GuMiho actually pulled his army back here. So, where is that scan? Unfortunately, it seems like the players didn't add the observer mod. So we don't actually have the little extra details there. We're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way, which is, you know, guessing and pretending you know what you're talking about, which is most of my day, but like and subscribe. 2-2 on the way. GuMiho, I think, still has the momentum, but Oliveira is sitting on 7 Vikings. He's about equal on siege tanks. Upgrades are a massive deal in Marine tank versus Marine tank. Those Marines fire so quickly. And the tanks with any armor upgrades on the Marines, the splash damage is reduced, but weapon upgrades as well against opposing siege tanks, it just adds up really quickly. These armies are very capable of obliterating each other. Viking snipe off of medevac gonna use the scan in order to get a little vision to the high ground here, but realizes that this is not a position that he can stick around in. The Liberators will eventually show up. That is the advantage of air control, as you can use it to leapfrog your Liberators forward and force those siege tanks away. Let's see, +3, +2 here. as well. +3, +2 for GuMiho. But only +1 mech weapons, whereas Oliveira, again, going for that, reinforcing the tanks with +1 and double tank production. Well, they both have 2 factories. So, the scans begin. Oh, here we go. Scans. Counter scans. GuMiho's still gonna press forward. He just stims right in. Terrible, terrible damage is being dealt. Marines are flying everywhere. It's a bloodbath. But thankfully, there's plenty of water to clear it up. And Oliveira ends up cleared from the field. GuMiho survives with a dozen badly bruised Marines left over, but incredibly importantly, most of his siege tanks. The Liberators, well, both of them will survive. GuMiho trying to get rid of them. But just not enough anti-air left over. The Liberators would do what the Marines and tanks could not, but Oliveira losing a lot of his Marines there. And GuMiho now building 15 Marines at a time back at home. He's got the siege tank count, 13 siege tanks. Though they don't quite have the upgrades to equal Oliveira yet, the numbers, I think, will more than make up for it. Quantity is a quality all its own. Or, more concisely, more shit counters less shit. As people have said in the past, so. Very smart people, I might add. Modest and humble ones, too. Oliveira, not maxed out. GuMiho, gonna go with the divide and conquer strategy. Try to hit him on the left and the right simultaneously. Wherever's weakest, ideally. Has plenty of scans with which to try to figure that out. Tanks will siege. Liberator's not quite there. And another attack to the left flank. It's just siege tanks. Good split and stem. Tanks will siege up for GuMiho and blast away a couple of Oliveiras. He's going to lose another command center as well. But here come the Liberators and the afterburners. It's raining men. Hallelujah. And the tanks will be cleaned up. Oliveira turns the supply gap around. 160 for both sides now. And the Marines, GuMiho finished his +3. Oh, those upgrades are so important here. And GuMiho wins the fight at the center of the map, but the seesaw goes back and forth, and Marines falling off each side. What does the siege tank count? We got 5 to 2. GuMiho's down to 2, but he's got 42 Marines, which is the answer to a whole lot of things. Oliveira. Couple Liberators at a time. He's relying on those Liberators. They've saved him in the past, and he's going to need them again. As constantly outmanned on the field, but the Liberators are able to dislodge the nastiest of siege tank positions. He still has Vikings. It's just, like, there are only 4 units on the field for GuMiho. He's got SCVs, medevacs, tanks, and Marines. A bit of a purist here this game. Command center is burning. Don't ask how that works underwater. Science. Well, Marines will take it down, making that a little less confusing. The Liberators, the Venn diagram of freedom, not so good. There's just so many Marines. You can't pick them off in time. The siege tanks will help out a lot with that. Splash damage in so many ways. Oliveira finishes up his plus. He's about to finish up his +3 weapons. Armor's pretty far off. GuMiho will fill out +3 armor momentarily. And he's maxed out on upgrades. Has a bit more army supply. Another Liberator sieging up, losing so many Marines, but keeps picking them off. Oliveira can't keep enough Liberators alive. But there's not much protecting these siege tanks. He could be dropping on them. Oh my. Oliveira. This looks like he wants to go for a counterattack here, but he should be able to clean up those tanks. Orbital, that's the main base. Headed out right now. GuMiho has 4 orbitals to Oliveira's 3. Awkwardly for Oliveira, he has 1 in the air, so not actually that many scans at all. Though he does have a Viking that was able to maintain vision. Oliveira definitely feeling a bit boxed in here. As GuMiho has 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 bases going now. So his income is going to be looking incredibly good. Has an advantage of about 1,000 minerals and a couple hundred gas per minute. Oh my god, just bust through the corner here. Siege tanks laying into each other. Marines caught in the crossfire. Very intentional. Oliveira holds for now. Liberators force back the tanks to the north. And Oliveira carves out some space to land his base, finally. 267 to 199 Marines. GuMiho's lost more, but he's also managed to mine 4,000 more minerals. And he's starting to compound that advantage. Oliveira trying to come down the ramp. Army supplies aren't too far off. The +2 siege tank advantage is one thing that he does have going for him, but dropping in behind. GuMiho loads up and drops underneath and on top of all the siege between the Liberators and the tanks and clears up a few more. Oliveira cannot keep Liberators alive. GuMiho's made essentially 0 Vikings. The 2 Vikings got knocked out a while ago. I think they got knocked out with the drop. But the Liberators just keep being gunned down. He's only lost 5 of them. It feels like a lot more because they keep getting taken out of key positions. But GuMiho, he's maxed out yet again. Oliveira struggling. I don't know if he's maxed out the whole game. He's gotten close, but not quite there. Only 2 siege tanks. That looks like easy enough pickings here. Acceptable losses, the Marines on the front line, but reinforcements come in for Oliveira. He has enough Marines to potentially break this. Good splits, good stims, and enough siege tanks will turn it around. GuMiho. A bit of a false start on that attack. Oliveira able to move into position, and it doesn't take much to push the needle to the other side here in Terran versus Terran. And Oliveira actually has the army supply advantage. Well, we'll see how long that lasts. GuMiho. The siege tanks +3 about to complete for Oliveira. Maximum damage. And no armor upgrades. Really describes siege tanks in a nutshell. GuMiho's actually going to try to rotate around. He's got some marauders here. But wait, here comes GuMiho from the back as well. Marines being obliterated, but the spread is so good. I can't believe it's not butter. Oh my god, a beautiful break as GuMiho collapses from all sides. A pretty simple flank, but an effective one. And Oliveira ends up losing another dozen tanks. It's 3, 4, 5. Well, wow, does he have 3 factories? Oh. It is now 4 tanks, 5 tanks to 3. Where Oliveira had double digits. I think GuMiho was pretty high up there as well, but he just can't get across the halfway mark. Scans on both sides. Near perfect information. Oliveira, how many orbitals now? He's still working on 3, but mules are kind of a thing of the past. Guns down a few of the SCVs. Still enough army supply to throw his weight around, but he's got to be very careful. Planetary Fortress, not worth it. An anvil that GuMiho can bring the hammer down on the army. Oh my, Oliveira on the run though. Well, he's not on the run. Where's this turret? The turret blocking a base. Add some damage. Oliveira caught. And Marines. The beautiful sand, stained red. The blood of those red Marines. 190 to 150 supply. Oliveira just cannot get out of his base. He had a single drop, but otherwise, GuMiho's just been hammering it. GuMiho, he's a bit less of a surgeon and a bit more, someone who uses a jackhammer or a sledgehammer, just a hammer of some sort. Okay. So, these Marines, he sees a tank, he splits, but feels like this is a bit of desperation here. The Marines clearly outmatched. And Oliveira will be driven back yet again. 700 Marines down in this game. But I think that number may finally come to a stop. If GuMiho is able to execute one more solid attack, this may finally be the one that breaks him. He doesn't even want to go for it. Still, though, a bloody, beautiful game 1. Now, what part of that really, what part of that did the new patch factor into? I think a lot of people are interested in how it affects even mirror matchups. Well, there was a Cyclone in the early game that did pretty well against the Reaper Hellion, so But otherwise, when it comes to the Marine tank Viking battles, that is the TVT we knew before, and the TVT will continue to enjoy. It didn't even go to that late game kind of drawn out Raven Viking. No, just a brutal Marine tank war. And GuMiho takes game 1. But wait, there's more. A surprisingly long-winded game, especially considering how most players have been, how do you say, focused on the early game pressure recently, from what I've seen of the new patch, which is a very nice and fancy way to say cheesing. I'm an early game pressure enthusiast. Okay, I like to really focus on maximizing a relatively small amount of units, and using them to great effect. Sometimes I also partake in forward structures as well as other construction sort of based gameplay. You might know it as cannon rushing for the uninitiated. Reaper on either side. Double gas. That's a staple of TVT. I don't think any sort of cyclone is going to change that. Because, of course, if you go 1 gas and they go 2, they can probably build a lot more cyclones. Getting that factory out and the tech out as soon as possible is the most important thing in Terran versus Terran. That continues to be true. Oliveira SCV scouts. So he will know for sure that GuMiho is not doing anything particularly untoward, at least early on. Whereas GuMiho... Oh, he's going to do the... I wonder if GuMiho realizes what's happening there. Tries to absorb some hits. He's just a little late, though. Oliveira gets the first hit. A second Reaper is in production. Oh, SCV pulled off the line. He's going to try to fight it. Throws the grenade, both sides. With a standoff. But a second Reaper's about to finish. He comes in. He actually has the advantage. Whoa! Okay. A dangerous game. Oliveira really wanted. He got so much done with the Reaper last game, but not this time. Cyclone first for GuMiho. He's going to, so conventionally, or at least recently in TVT, at least 3 Reapers and 2 Hellions has been the early game. I do think the Cyclone, and seeing more games, this is definitely going to stabilize the early game somewhat. At least it won't be Reaper Hellion very much anymore, as the Cyclone just simply comes out too quick. Oh, Oliveira almost missed it, but gets the Reaper on the way out. GuMiho, how much did he see? Enough. All right. He got the info. Saw the starport, the factory. No tech lab on the factory or the starport yet. No, Oliveira. He's building a second Cyclone in a medevac. Interesting. Actually, is very interesting. This is similar to older TVT builds. We'll see. Does the Cyclone still take up? It still takes up 4 cargo slots in the medevac. I was just making sure. So you can only fit 2 in there potentially, or 1 and 4 Marines or so. In which case, well, that's what we got here. Oliveira with interference matrix on the way, as well as a Raven in production. Making sure he'll have that ready when needed. And drops on the edge here. That siege tank, though. Well, the unsiege tank still quite good. The Cyclone taking... Whoa! Because on the other side is a Cyclone drop. Okay, well, begun the Clone Wars have. I was wondering, Oliveira looking the wrong way. Both sides. Bit of a Spider-Man meme situation. with the Cyclones early. Cyclone takes out the Reaper, but... So... I think GuMiho ends up getting the better of it, mostly because his Cyclone is still alive, even though Oliveira trying to close in and deal with it. Lock-on. There is no cooldown on lock-on. It's just an indicator of the auto-attack, to be clear now. But, oh, the damn it! He gets the medevac! Well. But... Siege tanks on the way across. This is gonna get weird. How much energy on the Raven? Is there enough? There is interference matrix. The second Raven doesn't have enough energy for it. Oh, locks on. Well, I gotta get used to the lock-on being just essentially auto-attack. The Marines are fighting. There's enough for an auto-turret here. The tanks are fighting on the ground. Slaps down the auto-turret to try to help snipe off the siege tank. And the battle will continue. But, oh, a single tank. I don't know if GuMiho saw it. Oliveira's trying to bait him into range. Some very high aggression here. But behind it, 3 CCs for both sides. Oliveira's significantly quicker, though he does have it at the natural, so... Oh, here comes GuMiho. Oh, he's just gonna drop some tanks in the main. Alright then. Oh, blasts away one of the siege tanks. And now he's just casually got 3 tanks in here. Oh, he's got vision, but he's able to take out one of GuMiho's. Oliveira, 1 SCV repairing. Reaper tries to get close, not close enough. Cyclone's gonna drop out as well. And meanwhile, Oliveira starts his 1-1, which, you know, is very optimistic considering the situation. GuMiho, oh, still 2 siege tanks wailing away, but only hitting the buildings for now. Still 1 Cyclone in the main. More Marines at the natural. There's not much to deal with them. It's just 5 unstim, uncombat shielded Marine. The starport itself, he ends up lifting it. Which, it is a bit weird the starport can't build while flying, considering its nature. But, scrambles one of the tanks. But wait, there's more! Scrambles another. And with the boys are coming out here, the Vikings could potentially land. The interference matrix is running out. The siege tank is in range. So far, decent. It's a brutal exchange here. Vikings on deck. The siege tank's taking out the Vikings, but the Vikings taking out the tanks in turn. The Vikings survive. Everyone's siege tanks died. Who's ahead? GuMiho finished his 3rd command center. Oliveira. The upgrades are such a huge deal. The presence of mind to get those upgrades. I actually think because Oliveira got his 1-1 and didn't end up taking too much economic damage. How about the production? Is it up? Oliveira. Well, the upgrades will go to Oliveira. The unit composition with 2 Ravens, assuming you can keep them alive. Overall, Oliveira actually has a bit of a better army. And GuMiho, again, the perpetual aggressor. Another drop is loaded up. If he can get to combat shield in 1-1, he's in an okay spot going forward. The Vikings are zoning out the drops. GuMiho just laying on the aggression. It is a thin line between defending these drops and just throwing everything into the siege tanks and being very sad after. For those of you who've ever attacked into siege tanks know exactly what I'm talking about. And that still can happen at this level. But a little bit careful so far. Oliveira not going to make that mistake easily. GuMiho really trying to force him to make it is what's happening. Oh, and GuMiho may have found success in that. A few big hits, but the interference matrices, huge part of this so far. And just dismantling the defense. Oliveira leaning on the Ravens. And even with the interference, the upgrade is cheap. And it's easy enough to get. It takes about 1.5 Ravens of build time. But Oliveira with a pointed investment. And so far, it's paid off. The siege tanks will retarget onto the tank of GuMiho. Vikings hit the deck, trying to absorb some more damage. The SCV is doing a pretty good job. The siege tanks trying to figure out what to shoot at. Still enough Marines. And GG, Oliveira takes game 2. Ooh, what a series. Ooh, these two are just absolutely obliterating each other. And I'm very excited to be here to watch. A scrappy game. GuMiho just continually dropping in the base. But this time his dubstep album, not quite good enough to impress Oliveira, who slaps him down, silences the tanks, and drives him out. The Ravens playing a key role still in the early game of TVT. And I think GuMiho, at this point, it's kind of figured out. So we'll see if he relies on those drops again, or if he goes back to something a bit more tech-oriented. It is interesting to me that GuMiho's the one. To be honest, I haven't watched too much TVT. I haven't watched too much GuMiho in TVT. And, what? But I am liking this match so far, but these are well... well, this is an important thing. Yes, one of those classic forward structure, early advancement, early unit focus builds. Yes. The centralized hub for early engagement, stationary engineers. Cheese. Ooh, that fell off. If you ever thought we didn't do it live, somebody else come with a better cheese acronym so I can look smart like 2 casts from now when everybody forgets this moment. Okay, and then I'll steal it with no credit. Thank you. So he's just gonna proxy. The SCV is stuck. You had one job, and you did a good job, but now you can't. He could do the sensor tower trick, but GuMiho... Well, not that the SCV is a big part of this. Let me out! Ah! Ah! Thank you! Sorry. And... oh no. GuMiho has at least figured out what the scouting pattern is on this one. That SCV is so suspicious. Oh my god. He touches the watchtower, and it was the SCV. Okay, so if Oliveira holds this, it's the SCV that was stuck. That was why it was so late. It was because he was stuck. Help me, Step Barracks. If that SCV had just gone home, the Reaper would not have seen it at the watchtower, and Oliveira would not have sent his Reaper home. So that SCV, I said it wasn't a big deal, but the SCV being spotted at the watchtower actually ends up being a pretty huge part of the early game. And that tiny bit of early warning, well, it's very important, but is it enough? As Oliveira is bleeding out SCVs, he has not finished his command center, far from it. And GuMiho is looking to just end this with a good old-fashioned proxy Reaper. A Cyclone on the way here for Oliveira. Oh. The Cyclone will end this. He's trying to keep that command center alive, but he's forced to cancel. I think that was the right call. Even if the Cyclone came out, it's too much of a liability at this stage. Wasn't even that far finished. Probably should have canceled earlier, but... And gonna use the Barracks. The Barracks Lord here. It's like an Overlord, but it has more health and moves faster. You're like, well, what are the downsides? Well, it costs a little more, I guess, and it doesn't provide supply. So, pros and cons. I can't believe that GuMiho's... I still think it gave Oliveira a little more warning. That Reaper came back home intentionally. And if that SCV hadn't gotten stuck, then there's only one Reaper really at home, if that. And the Reaper, and this starts to spiral out of control, I think. But instead, Oliveira, it's not good. It goes from game losing to pretty tough, is where we are here. 2 command centers on the way. The 3CC, GuMiho building on locate. Wait, that's his natural. Okay, that's like a normal place to build it. The 3rd CC was so far. The main base on this map is massive. This map, a Cyclone, as you can see the name, or Alcyone, as some people claimed. I favor a Cyclone, but apparently these players favor at least 2. The barracks will burn and crash into the, wow, beautiful forest. Oh, try to get back over land so they can recover the pieces. There it goes. Oh, nope, falls off the edge. The Reapers, he was killing the rocks. Well, he's gonna lose the Reapers. That was a bit optimistic. Oliveira ends up just, yeah, the Cyclones easily clean him up. Don't need more than, I think 1 Cyclone's enough to, I haven't tested this, though. I'm sure over several TVTs on the ladder I'll get the opportunity. But I believe you can kill 4 Reapers with 1 clone, because even if they do the grenade bounce, you're still locked on and attacking, so. But you can definitely kill 3. So it is just a very good anti-cheese option, if you're able to get there, of course. Reaper comes in. Oliveira is down 7 SCVs. He ended up losing 6 to the Reapers. Down goes the... Reaper gets a scout. No, maybe not quite as much as it could have. We're now in the scaling phase. Both sides building up their production. GuMiho got his barracks online significantly quicker. Barracks 2 and 3. He also has the only engineering bay on the map. In fact, he has 2 of them. A scan. That's a big scan for Gumi, bro. Yep, he sees the very edge. He sees the exact barracks timing. He realizes, nice. That's gotta feel very good here for GuMiho. He knows his production is quicker. He has time to set it all up in a beautiful production line. All right, a little bit of Factorio action there. Gotta appreciate it. And no reason not to put yourself out there. He knows that Oliveira will not have enough production to overrun him. So as long as he doesn't outright risk the tanks, I don't know where he's going. This is a bit odd. Is he just going to go with the medevac? You can't just attack with 4 siege tanks, GuMiho. You can't just... What are you doing? He has 2 Ravens. What is this? Are you crazy? What is he doing? Oh my god. What in the hell? Does he have interference matrix? He does. Did you for... Okay. This is the weirdest. A scan from Oliveira. I think he saw the tanks. He's like, excuse me, sir. You can't do this. This is private property. The tanks just go. Wow, a bold move. GuMiho did not research interference matrix, so. He doesn't have the ability to disable the tanks. He's sitting back with the potential maybe for auto turrets. Oliveira can't really afford to lose much. Well, Ravens have full energy. The army's out of the map. If there was ever a time to bring in those Ravens, well, now is it. Auto turret. Yeah, Oliveira can't afford to lose too many SCVs. In fact, combat shield is pretty far off. So siege tanks will be the order of the day. More auto turrets into the main. The turrets per minute raised dramatically. Oh no, Oliveira scrambles 3 out of 4 tanks here. The Cyclone's gonna help with the medevacs as well. But that 1 tank is adding so much damage. Interference matrix about to run out. And GuMiho's tanks are still, oh my god, they're still turrets. Oh no, the attack kind of peters out a little bit too early. And Oliveira, you can't really go back home. But you can't even stay. Yeah, he has to try something. Yeah. Kind of a half-hearted drop with whatever medevacs he has left. God, GuMiho. Oliveira may have loved the Ravens earlier, but oh, this ain't happening. Oh, it's a disaster. He's gonna try to drop on the tanks. Is this a GG moment? I think it's not enough. The Ravens have done too much damage. Down goes the medevac. GuMiho, with his hectic Lord of Chaos gameplay, The siege tank fake push. I don't even know. I couldn't come up with anything clever because it broke my brain, but it worked. He waited until they got scouted and immediately turned around. Oliveira, to his credit, I mean, he's been quite an underdog in the past, so... Oh, that's a lot of Marines. And GG. But I gotta give some compliments for that GG timing from Oliveira. He doesn't tap out. He doesn't tap out too late, but he fights it out to the last fight. I do appreciate that. On top of it, though, GuMiho with some kind of brute force. Some brawny Terran there. The real MVP and the takeaway is that the Raven is still good and the Cyclone is essentially the same role it was before, except just a little quicker and a little cheaper. Does not stop Proxy Reaper from being a thing. And otherwise, it seems like TVT is kind of staying the course. But hopefully you enjoyed. I had a lot of fun. I love that TVT on Oceanborn. Very excited, just from a spectator perspective, to watch more and more units get absolutely pummeled into oblivion and float up to the surface on that map. But hopefully you float on over to the like and subscribe buttons, or if you got the means of motivation, check out Patreon, YouTube membership, all those exciting things. Hopefully I made your day a little bit better. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Stay chill.